In 1797, Coleridge woke from an opium-induced sleep with a hallucinatory vision, rapidly transcribing hundreds of lines that appeared as finished things. He was famously interrupted by a visitor from the village of Porlock. When the business was concluded an hour later, the vision had vanished, leaving only the first 54 lines of a much larger intended work. Coleridge eventually published the text as a fragment. He added a subtitle to the title page that institutionalized this interruption, or A Vision in a Dream, a Fragment. Analyzing the poem's mechanical construction suggests that this fragmentary state is the core architectural principle of the entire work. Coleridge used these shifting forms to reject the neat, rational storytelling of the 18th century Enlightenment. By building a poem that refuses to finish, he created a structural map of the untamed and chaotic human subconscious. The poem begins by establishing a space of absolute human authority. The setting is the domain of the 13th century Mongol emperor Kubla Khan. The Khan decrees the construction of a stately pleasure dome and walled gardens in Xanadu. He is attempting to forcefully impose human structure and geometric order onto a wild landscape. Coleridge mimics this control. In Xanadu did Kubla Khan a stately pleasure dome decree, where Alf, the sacred river, ran. The steady meter represents rigid control, reinforced by a predictable A-B-A-A-B rhyme scheme, and heavy alliteration like Kubla and Khan, dome and decree. This sonic density creates an incantatory effect. It feels like a rhythmic, hypnotic magic spell being cast over the reader. This hyper-controlled, artificial structure moves the reader away from a literal travelogue and into a constructed psychological fantasy. The narrative focus now shifts away from the walled gardens towards the sacred river Alf. As the landscape turns wild, the rigid poetic form established in the first stanza begins to aggressively fracture. We see the structural breakdown here. But oh, that deep romantic chasm which slanted down the green hill athwart a cedarn cover. The rhythm accelerates through enjambment, creating rushing momentum. The meter destabilizes with trochaic substitutions, creating a jarring, uneven heartbeat. This erratic metric firing mimics the fast, thick pants of the earth breathing. It captures the frantic, unpredictable firing of a dreaming brain. In lines 21 and 22, nature's violence is compared to human threshing. Huge fragments vaulted like rebounding hail, or chaffy grain beneath the thresher's flail. This illustrates the sublime, the romantic concept of nature's terrifying and uncontrollable power. The breakdown of the meter is the literal manifestation of the sublime on the page. It demonstrates that the chaos of the subconscious cannot be contained by rational architecture. In the final stanza, the objective description of Xanadu's geography vanishes. The speaker suddenly uses the first-person pronoun, I, and introduces a vision of an Abyssinian maid playing a dulcimer. The physical terrain of Xanadu maps directly onto the human mind. The orderly gardens reflect the rational surface, while the icy caves mirror the chaotic subconscious. The poem is an extended allegory for the poet's own creative psyche. The speaker admits a failure of inspiration. Could I revive within me her symphony and song, I would build that dome in air. At this point, the meter suddenly returns to a strict iambic tetrameter. However, this restabilized meter is deeply ironic. The poet is using a rational, structured form to try and force a divine inspiration that he can no longer access. This stanza illustrates the limitation of the artist. If the poet could truly capture raw inspiration, he could build the dome out of thin air. His reliance on strict meter here proves he has lost that power. The poem reaches its climax as the speaker imagines the consequences of actually achieving that impossible, total creative vision. The poet is transformed into a wild-eyed prophet with flashing eyes and floating hair. He is terrifying to those around him, a figure isolated from society. To capture the audience's panic, Coleridge uses a specific sonic device in line 49, and all should cry, "Beware, beware." This is epizeuxis, the immediate repetition of a word for intense emphasis. It breaks the poem's musicality and replaces it with an alarm-like rhythm. This repetition simulates the mania of a mind that has surrendered completely to the irrational subconscious. True artistic genius, as Coleridge presents it here, is an isolating force that severs the creator from normal humanity. This leads back to the visitor from Porlock, who allegedly ruined the poem's completion. A finished, logically concluded version of this poem would have undermined its own argument. Raw inspiration is inherently meant to break apart, and it simply cannot be contained in a finished, orderly structure. The highest peaks of human creativity are merely momentary flashes of brilliant light that completely defy any attempt at rational capture. Kubla Khan is a masterpiece because it is broken. Its state as a fragment is the final thematic proof that the subconscious can never be fully conquered by human architecture.